Superbike racing in Australia have 3 makes of machine been so close on points at the midway mark of a national Australian title. Phyllis for Kawasaki is chasing Mal Campbell for Honda, with Mike Dowson's Yamaha lurking back in 5th position, but all of them are separated by only 20 points. With the wind howling down the straight from the snow, straight from the south, Will Hagen, SBS's resident motorcycle guru, is on assignment in Japan this weekend, so I'll be taking his place in central commentary, leaving in the pits Farron Hotham, SBS's sports reporter. And Farron, there's only 2 things to know about motorcycle commentary in the pits. 1, never turn your back on them. 2, when Malcolm Campbell has a crook day, never, ever ask him what's gone wrong. Best of luck, mate.
Thank you, John. Should be a great race. The stage is set for a tremendous confrontation here at Oran Park. It's round 4. The action starts with the Superbike first leg. Here's John Smales with Michael Cole.
And Michael Cole, of course, was one of the all-time greats of Australian motorcycle racing in the late 70s and early 80s. And in fact, Mike, the winner of the Suzuka 8-hour in 1979. Welcome to the commentary position.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having us.
And joining us also in the commentary position for this race only is the man who's currently lying 7th in the World Motorcycle Championship, Scott McDowan. I'm sorry, we've just seen Scott out there. Welcome, mate.
Yeah, thanks a lot, John.
You're in one position, in one piece almost, I can see from your hand, which is in plaster at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's not in plaster. I just got a bit of plaster holding the fingers up, but the rest of it's all pinned together and it's looking pretty good.
Well, of course, the British Grand Prix is on in Donington in Britain tonight, which is where you should have been. I guess it's a bit frustrating to be sitting here.
Yeah, well, I'd like to be over there, but that's the way it goes, and I'm just down here to have a look, and it's been good so far.
The Shell Oil's Australian Road Race Championship, Superbike Championship, comes to the grid for the first of 30 laps, and that's the points as they stand at the moment. Malcolm Campbell for Honda on 95 points, Phyllis for Kawasaki on 86, his teammate Aaron Slight on 83. Sean Gallagher won't be racing today. He threw the bike down on Thursday and he's had to retire with bad bruising, and Michael Dowson back in 5th position for Yamaha on 51. The grid positions today. Malcolm Campbell yesterday put in a blinder of a lap. 1 minute 13.64. The only man, as you can see, into the 13 seconds ahead of Phyllis, Scott Doohan, Mick's older brother, Pete Goddard, Aaron Slight and Peter Guest back on 16.08. All in readiness now for a start. And they're racing. And a huge start from all of them across the front row. It's just impossible to pick it, but it's Robbie Phyllis on bike 1 down the inside. Behind him goes Malcolm Campbell, and ranging up around the outside was Michael Dowson. But it's Phyllis from Dowson, then Mal Campbell, and then Pete Goddard on the second of the team Yamaha bikes.
Great start by Robbie.
Sensational start by Robbie. Have you ever seen him so motivated, Mick?
I think we can see some fireworks in this race. We've got a lot of determined fellows here. Mike Dowson, who's a goer.
Dowson's a bit crook at the moment. We'll see how long he can last. And Phyllis usually gets a whole shot in most races I've ever seen him enter.
Yep.
So we'll see if the other guys can pin him back. He's usually a fast starter for the first few laps, and then the other guys usually pull him back. But if he can get the advantage, he usually takes hold of it.
Yep.
Well, Dowson yesterday so sick, in fact, that he couldn't qualify, and is doing a sensational job out there at the moment, holding down flu, a really bad case of it.
So he done a few laps on the bike this morning and was nearly throwing up in his helmet, so things don't look too good for him out there.
It's a worry with these full-face helmets, isn't it, Mick?
Yeah, especially if you throw up in them, they've only got one place to go, all back over you.
Mal Campbell now ranges down on the inside of Pete Goddard and takes over 3rd position. Sensational racing back in 3rd spot. But this is the race leader. Robbie Phyllis behind him, Michael Dowson, then Malcolm Campbell, then Pete Goddard, then Aaron Slight, and then Scott Doohan back in 6th position.
Take a while for these tyres to get warm, Mick?
They should be all right by now. I'd say everyone's feathering around a bit at the moment for sure, but I'd say by the end of this lap anyway, you should start seeing like some real action, I'd reckon.
The real concern for the riders at the moment is this concrete strip you can see running down the middle of the track. The problem of that is that a sidecar race earlier today saw some sidecar drop most of its sump right on the racing line, right round the circuit. So the concrete is out there soaking up the oil at the moment, but the riders are having to, as much as possible, avoid the racing line, and that makes it very difficult.
Yeah, well, it's not good when you have to stay off the apexes of the line or run out wide everywhere. It makes it hard to stay on the circuit, and it also slows the lap times down, so it makes it difficult for everyone, so everyone's in the same position out there.
Robbie Phyllis, a 1 minute 14.27 second lap against a lap record held by Freddie Merkel of the USA last year at 1:12.69. So Phyllis 1.5 seconds outside the lap record, and I guess that really tells the story of that oil streak.
Yeah, well, that lap record of Merkel's actually is a bit, it's a little bit false. His team never actually recorded that time. Merkel doesn't reckon he got it either, so it's a little bit false, I'd say.
Malcolm Campbell now moves up into second position, displacing Michael Dowson. That's Campbell on bike 3, the Honda. Campbell, of course, leads the series on 95 points. From Phyllis 86, ouch.
Malcolm Campbell, his backside left the seat for a moment there.
Yeah, some nasty bumps coming off the bridge there. Usually upsets the bike a bit. He makes it look good, doesn't he?
Campbell has had 4 wins in the series and a 3rd place. He failed to start the first leg of the Lakeside round, round 3, on the 25th of June after it crashed in the preceding 1000cc race. And in fact, when he took 3rd place in the second round of that event, he did so on the bike he borrowed from Sean Gallagher, the second of the Team Honda sort of semi-team bikes. Phyllis, on the other hand, lies 9 points behind Mal Campbell, so every point he can pick up at the moment is important. Look at that dice back in 3rd position between Mike Dowson, Pete Goddard and Aaron Slate. Dowson looks behind and in fact waves Goddard through. Yeah,
I'd say he's feeling a bit sick. I don't think he can persist through with it. He hasn't been eating the last few days because he's been so sick, so I'd say that's a problem.
It's taken the fire out of him, you can see by his riding.
So now it's Goddard in 3rd position, followed by Aaron Slate. Then Mike Dowson dropping back. Most of these guys, in fact, racing with you last weekend, Mick Doohan, in the Suzuka 8-hour, when you were leading at the 5th to the 5-hour mark before you crashed, unfortunately. What happened?
Yeah, I was just negotiating passing a slower rider, and I just clipped the back of his machine, and it just knocked the handlebar out from underneath me, and I fell over. So these things happen. It just was unfortunate that it happened while we were leading and so far in front.
Aaron Slate now moves up to overtake Pete Goddard, and behind them it's Scott Doohan, really now starting to pour the pressure on Michael Dowson. And young Scott doing a pretty good job for an older brother, really, Mick.
Yeah, it's not too bad. He hasn't had much experience on the Superbike, only since the last round of the Australian Championship, so he's doing a really good job on a Superbike, which he's not really at home on yet.
You reckon he's the sort of guy who'll try and follow you overseas?
Well, I'm not sure, you know. I think he'll just take it one step at a time and just try and win races, and that's the whole aim of the idea. So he's out there having fun, and I hope he enjoys it.
Well,
he
picked up his first ever Superbike race win just 2 races before this in the second leg of the Shell Oil's 1000cc championship at Oran Park today, so he must be feeling pretty pleased with himself.
Yeah, well, I'd say he was pretty happy.
Just got under Dowson.
He's just picked off Dowson, which is a good thing for Doohan and a bad thing for Dowson.
Give him a clear run Goddard.
And in the pits, with information for us at the moment, is Farron Hotham.
Yes, there's a lot of concern down here for Michael Dowson, as we've been talking about, with that very bad virus. A matter of fact, in the last 2 days, I've been told, he's been coming in with tears in his eyes. That virus is very bad. There is major concern, but he's still in there, hanging in there. Also news, Michael Moran from Wollongong has just come into the pits. He's the first casualty in the Superbike, and what a race it is.
Scott Doohan now right between the 2 Team Yamaha bikes on the machine that he inherited from Paul Feeney, the veteran Australian Superbike racer who's finally decided to hang up his helmet. Yellow flag across the bridge, so there's someone maybe down around here somewhere. Just have a look out for him. Nope. Scotty now starting to climb up to the tail of Pete Goddard, the man who came third in the Suzuka 8 Hour last weekend, riding a Superbike against the Formula One machinery, the Hondas that won the event.
And Scott's having a good look at Peter Goddard.
Well, there's horsepower and horsepower, isn't there? Because the popular belief is that the Hondas have maybe got just a little more grunt than the Yamahas, but it didn't show up then.
Yeah, well, so the Honda Scott's riding isn't a factory-backed Honda, so that's no judgment to say, well, that's a factory Yamaha out there and that's a privateer Honda, so it's a little bit different to judge things. I'd say Wally's bike's maybe a little bit faster than the Yamahas, but again, there wouldn't be a great deal in it.
That biased but totally accurate comment you heard was from, of course, Scott's brother. This time, Scott takes the inside line going up towards the bridge, and there was no way he was going to pull that off.
No, well, you know, there's just a bit too much oil there and whatnot. And Peter's riding it a bit too hard to just slip a move like that underneath him.
Is he trying though? I mean, Peter is making that bike 5 feet wide, isn't he? The dice you're watching is for fourth position as they come up to overtake left rider. And that's the race for the lead now. This is it. This is what everyone's come to Oran Park to see. The race between the two greats of Australian superbike racing, Robbie Phyllis and Malcolm Campbell. Campbell by now would have the glint of charge in his eyes. I mean, there is nothing more fearsome than the look in Malcolm Campbell's eyes when he starts to really move hard. And that's what they've got to contend with. Lap riders all round the course. A concrete line running right around the course that prevents people from having a go. And amongst all that, they're lapping probably at around 130 kilometres an hour. Rob Phyllis is the first to sort out the lap riders.
Yeah, he seemed to get the better run through there than, say, Mel Campbell did, but there's a lot of race to go yet, so we'll see what happens.
30 laps, of course, round Oran Park this lap. 9 laps gone so far. In the pits is Farron Hotham with Mike Dowson.
Michael Dowson is in big trouble here, it seems, at the moment. It seems the influenza has got to him. We'll just have to check something out for you. But he's in big trouble at the moment. We'll come back here shortly.
So Mike Dowson, the first major casualty of the race. Meantime, out here in the heat of the action is Kawasaki versus Honda, Rob Phyllis versus Wally, Mal Campbell, the most aggressive rider on the racetrack.
Robbie's just turned around and got a very good eyeful of Mal Campbell glaring at him, so that's not the type of thing you really want to see. It can put you off.
You remember, don't you, Mick?
I recall.
Oh, yes. Will you ever forget the eyes?
A long time ago, though.
Well, of course, you stopped racing in 1983. Why did you give it away?
I wasn't enjoying it, John. It was becoming a bit of a chore. The riding was great, but sometimes there's a lot of politics that goes on. You've got to be seen to be doing the right thing and say the right thing all the time. Your results can't just speak for themselves. So I gave the rest.
Lap rider's a real problem now for Mal Campbell, who stays out wide. Strange thing he just did, Michael Doohan. What's the problem?
Yeah, well, there was the oil line there, and also that guy, he didn't know really what he was going to do. It's no use running into anybody at this stage of the race anyway. Campbell looking like a courier on Pitt Street, the way he weaved his way through there.
Oh.
That's one bike down right in probably the most dangerous
on the run up to the bridge.
On the run up to the bridge, yeah, that's a worry.
It's a hard place to get the power on there, don't you reckon, Mick?
Yeah, it's a little bit funny and a few bumps also. It's usually doing a lot of wheel spinning and bucking, as you say, you know, trying to get up there. So
the race
it's a funny
leaders,
corner, easy to high side, just as that guy's done by the looks of it.
the race leaders now coming around to the accident scene. Mal Campbell rages around the outside, yellow flags waving. He hasn't overtaken Rob Phyllis.
See the big black mark there on the track.
The officials desperate to get the bike off the track. That's most important.
They're doing a lot of waving though. They weren't picking it up for a long time, were they?
Might be hot.
Okay, Mal Campbell now amongst traffic, going for Rob Phyllis, outside, inside. Up they come up to the flip-flop.
This is a hazardous time now, threading your way through all these back markers.
Stuart Fripp is the back marker. Mal Campbell tries for the outside. Rob Phyllis takes the inside. They're both through.
Now watch this Honda. I think this Honda's got a bit of go in it. Yeah. I think it's got a lot of go in it.
Campbell down the inside, and Campbell changes that graphic right there. That was the position at the 10-lap mark, but already Malcolm Campbell has changed the accepted order of things because he's taken over the lead from Rob Phyllis.
Oh, Malcolm there had the wick screwed right up. He was leaving big black marks exiting the corner then.
Back in the pits is Farron Hotham.
Well, Malcolm Campbell is going pretty well. It's bad news for Michael Dowson. He was in here a moment ago, as you saw, and it looks as though the flu is getting worse as he goes. And they're trying to make major adjustments to the bike as well for the second leg. So, John, the news isn't good at all for the side today.
Yeah, it's a pity really for Mike Dowson because we're looking for big things from him. He, of course, is back in 5th position in the title, and he really needed every point he could pick up today to make the difference. Look at Campbell thread his way through this traffic. This is sensational stuff.
Robbie's doing it hard at the moment. He can't take a trick through the traffic at the moment. He nearly got taken out there.
Yeah, I think it's just a lucky break how you get through the traffic. You know, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. And at the moment, Mal Campbell's getting through. But
yep.
And again, there's still a lot more race to go yet.
That's right.
Campbell goes through a lap average of, or lap time rather, of 1:16.89. That's 4 seconds off the disputed Freddie Merkel record, but it certainly shows just how much the lap traffic is interfering with a clean lap.
Yeah, that's still not a bad lap time. With passing about 10 to how many ever they've just passed out there in one lap.
Aaron Slide's lurking in the background too there, Mick. John?
Yeah, Slide is in fact in 3rd position.
Yeah.
And you'd only need a very small drama from either of these guys, and Slide, of course, would be up on the lead. That's Mal Campbell staying just off the oil line.
Off the bridge, down into the right-hander, then left.
You can see how it gets light over the top there as you come out of the bit of a dip.
And the exit here's off Campbell. Very easy to lose the bike there. And then uphill.
Coming up to lap Douglas Pittman on one of the 1000cc production bikes. James Knight, of course, was leading the production bike championship, but bad news for him. He crashed very heavily at Suzuka in Japan last weekend on the starting line and was run over by a following competitor. I understand he has 2 broken legs and a broken pelvis. So unfortunately, James Knight is out for this year at least. This is the race for the lead. Malcolm Campbell, bike 3, right behind him now. Rob Phyllis, bike 1. You can just see lurking 3 bikes behind, as the guys said. Bike 6, Aaron Slide on the 2nd, Team Kawasaki. Roger Dundas in the SBS chopper goes overhead and casts his shadow over Robbie Phyllis.
Leaping off the ground a little bit there.
The Yamaha team seemingly still struggling with the suspension problems they had at Lakeside, because neither of the bikes, okay, give that Mike Dowson is ill, but neither of the bikes seemingly able to keep up with the Honda and Kawasaki teams this weekend. Not helped, of course, by the fact that Pete Goddard threw the OWO1 Yamaha down the road on Friday and totally wrote it off. So Goddard out there today on a bike that's been cobbled up from bits from the factory.
Yeah, I think it's virtually the same machine. I don't think he's lost a lot of performance out of doing the crash, so I don't think that's any problem in holding him up anyway.
Rob Phyllis there, balked ever so slightly by a, well, now in a major way by a rider that he's trying to lap. He's lost 2 corners now and still being held up by that rider.
That cement dust is really putting you off.
Still, Robbie Phyllis is behind the lap rider, and Malcolm Campbell taking the opportunity to really sprint away. Coming up to the halfway point, 14 laps down. And we'll put a watch on Campbell as he goes by this time to see just how much Robbie Phyllis has dropped off his tail. Flash of green goes past the commentary position. It's 2.18 seconds now. The gap, Campbell back to Phyllis, and Phyllis really must be fuming about that lap rider that's cost him so much time. Phyllis looks behind just to see where Aaron Slight might happen to be.
You see Slight and Goddard are having a bit of a go back there.
Word comes through that Slight is now about equidistant back in 3rd place. He's about 2.5 seconds behind Phyllis. Riders ahead will hold up Mal Campbell enough for him to get going. By the look of the back of the end of the bike as it came over the flip-flop, Robbie is really giving it heaps.
Yeah, I'd say he's trying to make up a little bit of clear road he's got. He's probably trying to make some ground back on Wally.
Well, there's Campbell. There's Phyllis coming down the inside. 71 Russell Davis is going to have to do some pretty fancy footwork to get out of the way. Behind them now comes the dice for 3rd position. Down the inside goes Pete Goddard on 14. There's 6, that's Aaron Slight, and right behind is Scott Doohan on bike 5. So this is the dice for 3rd place, and what a dice it is. Yamaha, followed by Kawasaki, followed by Honda. This really tells the story of how these 3 makes of machine have been ripping up the Australian Superbike Championships, well, sponsored by Shell Oils this year.
Doesn't seem to be working all that bad, that Yamaha, does it? It looks pretty smooth. The suspension doesn't seem to be doing anything out of control at this moment anyway.
They've done a lot of testing out here between Lakeside and now. Oh, there's someone down.
Guy's pretty relaxed, eh? Just cruising around.
Scott Doohan moves up a place and displaces Aaron Slight.
There's this guy out there just adjusting his knee pads or whatever, you know.
And there's the rider that's down from the bike that's lying in the middle of the track.
Let's get my helmet off so I can breathe.
Yes. It must feel really claustrophobic to be down, know you're hurt, and have that helmet on.
Well, you nearly always crack your hands or crack your fingers on the tarmac. And you know what it's like when you hit your thumb with a hammer.
Nigel Taylor. Wollongong. He seems to be... Must have got a bit out of shape there.
Just catching his breath.
Bike 19 is Andrew De Cupia from Sandringham on the Yamaha FZ 750. And at the end of the main straight, right up the top there, you can see coming through some of the back markers who look very similar to the front markers.
Oh, some guy's dropped an engine.
And there's an engine blow up. You don't often see those with the solo machines.
Oh, well, was it? I don't know. All the smoke just stopped.
Maybe cement dust.
Here we go. Mal Campbell now being followed, lurking behind is
Robbie hasn't given up.
Does Robbie ever give up?
No.
Robbie,
Goes to sleep, sorry. Goes to sleep, but he doesn't give up.
yeah, Robbie might complain a bit about it afterwards, but when he's out there, he's a fairly committed man, isn't he?
He's pulled back a lot of ground on Malcolm.
Two old fellows here too.
Neither will admit to exactly how old, mind you, but you've got to say, since you were around, one of their era, 35?
Oh, they're older than me, and that's all.
They're still both doing a good job, and they're both fast, and like while they keep enjoying it, there's no reason for them to stop. You know, so.
How fast are they, Mick, doing in international terms? Put them on a 500cc Grand Prix machine at the moment, and could they hack it with the world title riders?
I'm sure they'd be in the top. Like put them on machinery which equal to everyone else. I'm sure they wouldn't be embarrassed anyway.
Well, for yourself, for example, you're laying 7th in the championship at the moment. Just how hard is it to be on the international pace?
Oh, well, it's a lot difficult, a lot more difficult than out here, you know, because you got everyone from all over the world competing virtually, the top riders. So it's not just like 1 or 2 or 3 guys out here who are going fast. You got like 15 or 20 guys over there. So
the leaders in the outright class of the Shell Oil's Australian Superbike Championship passed the leaders in the production bike class. 17 and 12, you saw dicing just there. 17 is David Craig, the young Queenslander, having only his 2nd ride in the production bikes, and behind him is Andy Roberts for Cafe Racer, Yamaha Pitman. These 2 riders here are the leaders of the production bike class at the moment. As I say, James Knight is unfortunately a scratching. David Craig has taken pole position. He's on bike 17, has taken pole position in both the production bike rounds he's contested so far. Unfortunately, the bike failed at Lakeside last month. But boy, is he doing a good job. Could this man be the find of 89?
yeah, he's doing a good job on the Gaithorn Yamaha 1000 out there, but it looks like Palmer's out. What's his?
Mark Arnold from Hartwell Club in Victoria, Honda RC30, puts it down at the end of the main straight.
End of the straight.
And that's a terrible place to fall down, because you do it pretty quickly, don't you, Mick?
Yeah, well, you hit the wall fairly fast there, I'd say, once you hit the ground. Luckily enough, I haven't, touch wood, come to grief on that corner.
Now look at Aaron Slight catching up. Look at this man coming through. No, it's not, I'm sorry. It's not, it's a left rider. I do apologise.
I can tell you a funny story about the end of that main straight. A visiting couple of New Zealand riders. He was a Honda New Zealand rider, Vince Sharp. He came to Oran Park, and in practice, I think someone told him. He asked one of the locals, how do you approach this corner, the end of the straight? And I can't recall who it was, but it was tongue in cheek. You take the end, if you're going good, you take the end of the straight flat knacker. And poor fellow, he paid the penalty.
Yes. That's very much like the story of Graham Crosby when he first came to Oran Park. The first time he ever saw it, he asked the lads, which way does the circuit go and what's the lap record? So they sent him the wrong way round the track. He practiced for several laps before he discovered that he was in error. Down the main straight, bike 3 is Malcolm Campbell. Bike 30 is Graham Morris on the Ducati, and then bike 1 is Rob Phyllis on the Kawasaki. If ever the Ducati was going to be formed, we were told it was this weekend at Oran Park. Regrettably, it's now been lapped at the 21 lap mark. Can this be Campbell?
Yeah.
Can that be Mal Campbell? Gee, it looks it, doesn't it? It is. It's got to be Mal Campbell. On one of the slower corners of the track, Malcolm Campbell has put the Honda RC30 down. Let's see it here. We've got it on record. Let's just see which end of the bike broke away.
It'll be the front end.
Whoa, look at him.
Maybe he didn't want to be on the bike anymore.
Campbell really fighting not to be thrown over the high side, manages to do that and gets the bike down in a fairly orderly fashion.
Just looks like he loaded the front up a bit bad. As you say before, going through Yamaha, it was loading up pretty bad and it was doing a bit of chattering, so maybe he just put a bit too much on there and just let loose.
Campbell's back on the bike now, but all the pedals on the right-hand side of the machine are obviously scraped away by the looks of the way he's looking down there. Certainly he doesn't have a foot peg left.
It's a very easy corner to fall off, that one. It's sort of off camber as you peel into it. The camber runs the wrong way. You should be able to go faster around it. That's how you feel.
Yep.
Next thing you know, you've lost your grip.
You're just coming out of a dip there, so it really does load the front end up.
Yeah.
And
How's that?
quite easy.
That's a good get off. You just pick the bike up and get going again. No hospital, no trip to hospital.
Malcolm Campbell crashes, gets up again, and is now in 4th position behind Aaron Slight.
He could still win it.
And in front of Jeff Windsor from the Hardware Club on a Honda RC30.
Where's Peter Goddard? Is he running 3rd or 2nd or? Is he out? Is he?
That's a very good question. In fact, we looked for Peter Goddard and we learned that Peter Goddard is out of the race. Currently, the race order we're given is bike 1. Rob Phyllis right there. Bike 5, Scott Doohan now up into 2nd position. Bike 6, Aaron Slight in 3rd. Bike 3, Malcolm Campbell. And bike 36 is Jeff Windsor. So a great misfortune has befallen Team Yamaha. And Farron Hotham in the pits may well have the answer for us.
Yes, mechanical problems have forced Goddard out of the race about 2 laps ago. Not good news at all for Goddard. He was out of the event just a couple of laps ago, and the Yamaha side is not having a good day whatsoever, as you said, John.
Well, what a disappointment for Pete Goddard to have to give it away in that manner. And now Robbie Phyllis has got the break that he's really wanted in this Superbike series. He is looking like picking up 20 big points, and currently, as you can see from that graphic, Malcolm Campbell isn't in the major points at all. The best he can hope to pick up at the moment, with 7 laps remaining, is 11 points rather, which would put him 9 points behind Robbie Phyllis and put them equal in the Superbike Championship. Now, if Malcolm Campbell realises that, we wonder what he can do to overhaul Aaron Slight in 3rd position to retain his lead, especially given the fact that he's riding with 1 foot just grasping at air.
How's this brother of yours, Mick? He's up into 2nd posse.
Yeah, he's just managed to stay out there, hasn't he? And he's looking all right at the moment, but there's still a few more laps to go yet, so we'll just see if he can stay there.
And another bike down, and the rider off to the other side of the track. You can see that he's being tended to by the officials, sitting up and standing up now, so we know that apart from a bit of limp, he's on the pace, and that's good. But the number of riders that have fallen this weekend, gentlemen, are just quite incredible. During the week, Sean Gallagher's been down, Aaron Slight's crashed, Malcolm Campbell crashed during practice and again during the race. Pete Goddard high-sided at this corner, Castrol, and rode off the OW01. Kevin Phelan crashed at the end of the main straight, and James Knight, of course, can't be here because of a crash. Robbie Phyllis now comes up to gently pass the back markers, not under the yellow flag, of course. Through the traffic, knowing full well that he's not under any pressure from behind. But I tell you what, boys, this is going to put some pressure on in the second heat this afternoon. Another 30 laps coming up at Oran Park.
Yeah,
because Mal Campbell's going to have to pull out all stops.
Yeah, well, I'd say he'd be pretty determined to notch up a win, so I reckon Wally will be going bananas out there this afternoon.
Yeah, so to speak. Big Doohan, when do we see you back in Grand Prix competition?
I'm hoping to get there for Czechoslovakia and Brazil at the moment. Hopefully I'll have my hand looked at again on Monday and I'll know a bit more, so we just wait and see what happens. But I'm hoping within 2 weeks I'll be back on the bike, and I won't be fully fit, but I'll be out there giving it a go anyway. So
the recuperative powers of you guys, I say, as I see yet another of the wounded being taken away, is absolutely outstanding. To see you sitting here at the moment with your hand totally bandaged, plaster coming out at the end of it, a bit of the finger lopped off. Yet, you know, anyone sensible would give it away for 6 months.
yeah, as Mick was saying before, I think if you dedicate and you want to do it, you know, you just want to get back out there. You hate to be off the machine, so I just want to get back on and ride it again, and I'm looking forward to doing it, and the least time I can spend off it, the better.
8.5 seconds separates Robbie Phyllis, this man, from Scott Doohan on the Arcade Chains Honda in second position. Then in third position is Aaron Slight, and behind him still is Malcolm Campbell, struggling to make up the difference. Here comes Scott Doohan, bike 5. Second position. Now tell me, Mick, what's this about you Doohans in your crazy helmet painting? I mean, it looks like it's been done by, with due respect, by the kindergarten class at Service Paradise.
Well, Scott just asked the Arrow people if he could have a helmet the same as mine, and that was the same as mine at the beginning of the year, but now I've just widened the stripes up a bit. I just decided to make a helmet that's a little bit different than everybody else's, just with stripes and different colours, so it's really identifiable and it's just different, you know. It looks ugly when you first see it. Even I thought it was ugly, but I don't mind it now, you know. I think it's quite good.
The pull-through you saw going through screen there a moment ago, of course, told you that for any race results you want, whether they're local or international, you need only dial the 008 ready line to be able to find out exactly what's going on in motorcycle racing in Australia. Doohan really getting stuck into it. He's got very much your style about him, Mick.
Yeah, he seems to just like to have the bike flopping between his legs, which is a reasonably good style, I think. Everyone seems to be going for that these days, and I think it's just the way the bikes are designed.
The gap between Aaron Slight and Mal Campbell is 30.6 seconds. Given, therefore, that there are only 2 laps remaining in this event, it's absolutely impossible for Mal Campbell to make up that difference to catch up to bike 6 here, Aaron Slight, who's riding in third position. So Slight, by taking third position, is doing Robbie Phyllis the world of good in this championship, because Robbie will, of course, be able to pick up a few valuable points on Mal Campbell.
Yeah, well, Aaron isn't too far behind Robbie in the championship, I don't think. We're looking at the points before, so the championship's still like well alive as far as the race between Aaron and Robbie go. So he's getting a bit of a sore leg just dangling off the side there.
Dowson now back out on the track again, but obviously a very ill man.
He's got no foot peg and no rear brake. So he's operating on gear changes down into the corners and the front brake.
Wouldn't be too good around left-hand corners either, just having your leg hanging off the other side.
And a more rational look at the point score, of course, tells us that Malcolm Campbell can still retain his lead in the title, even by finishing fourth in this event. Should the positions remain unchanged, Malcolm Campbell will have 108 points from Rob Phyllis on 106.
Robbie's eased the pace, got him at a minute 17 before. Earlier in the race they were at 13s, or 14, sorry, minute 14s. So there's no need to go hard at it anymore. The pressure's off him.
David Ross is about to learn the lesson of his life as Rob Phyllis comes up to lap him and has taken him 2 corners to get through already. gap back to Scott Doohan now 7.9 seconds, so it's opened up.
I'd say Scott's probably doing the same thing. I think he's got a little bit of a break at the moment over Aaron, so he's probably just taking it a little bit easier.
Last lap board goes out. So Robbie Phyllis, 1 lap to go in this first leg of the Shell Oils Australian Road Racing Superbike Championships, coming to you from Oran Park in Sydney. Round 4, halfway point of the title. Wanneroo in Western Australia and Malalar in South Australia still to come. And the series tightens from a 9-point deficit. Rob Phyllis has now closed the gap to only 2 points behind Malcolm Campbell. Phyllis, of course, the man who likes to think of himself, and so do many of us, as the Superbike champion of Australia, having won the Superbike title no less than 5 times, is not happy, as you would expect, being in second place in the title. And certainly the aggression he's showing today and the bad luck that's befallen Malcolm Campbell is very much in Robbie Phyllis' best interests.
This is a beaut position to be in. Pressure's off. Just got to coax the bike to the line. It's a very reliable bike. In between race meetings, they basically just adjust the valve clearances, change the oil, and if they think, they'll just pull the head and barrels off and have a look inside the motor, but they're very reliable.
And the checkered flag goes out for Robbie Phyllis for Team Kawasaki, Team Green, winning the first leg of the Shell Oils Australian Road Race Championship for Superbikes at Oran Park. We look back now to Scott Doohan in second position. In third place will be Aaron Slight for Team Kawasaki, and in fourth place after a race crash, there goes Slight on bike 6, going through in third position, some 26 seconds in arrears of Robbie Phyllis. And then way back will be Malcolm Campbell for Team Honda, riding Uniped. David Craig wins the production bike class from Andy Roberts on bike 12. The Ducati, Graham Morris, bike 30 goes through, and still no sign of Mal Campbell. There goes bike 2, Michael Dowson, at least a couple of laps down. And then finally, with a leg hanging out, Malcolm Campbell in fourth position. And there'll be feverish work in the Honda team to get the bike ready for round 2, another 30 laps of Oran Park later this afternoon.
So Robbie Phyllis, and a great result for Kawasaki. Well, Robbie, ounce of luck.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of luck involved in that one. Like, it's unfortunate that Wally crashed. It made it a lot easier for me and for Kawasaki. So after he crashed, like, we didn't have to ride that fast, and it made it a lot easier. But I doubt if he'd have crashed if there hadn't have been the oil on the circuit. It was just one of those things, like, we're running into the back of lap traffic everywhere. It was just so hard to pass, and where you could get a run, you had to try so hard. And I think unfortunately that's what's happened to him, you know. And I feel sorry for him. Like, as I say, it's a lot better for me, but it's one of those things, you know. It's not good.
At the next race, how do you feel about that one?
Well, I'll just do the same thing again. Just ride as fast as I can and as safe as I can. And like, if the other guys want to go faster than I, there's not much I'm going to do about it. Like, it's important to finish the race to start with, and I reckon we'll get pretty stiff opposition from Wally, but he'll be out trying to get his points back. But I just got to fly the flag for Kawasaki, you know.
Good on you, mate. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Robbie Phyllis from Kawasaki, and as we said, a great result. Well, the 250cc second leg is preparing. This should be a great race. In commentary, John Smales with Michael Cole.
And also with Don Cox, SBS's long-time lap scorer, who's making his maiden commentary this afternoon. Coxie, of course, recognised by most of the motorcycle competitors as being the definitive expert on the 250cc championship. So, Don, welcome to the maiden telecast.
Thank you, John.
Well, a small field gridding up at the moment for the 250cc championship, but in fact, quite a few more to come out from the pits, hopefully. The first leg of the 250cc title this morning was absolutely sensational. It was won by Victorian Rennie Bongas And second, of course, was 27. That was David Horton from New South Wales. And it was just the most sensational race you've ever seen. But what it's achieved, of course, is brought Jeff Sale now up into the lead in the championship on 115 points from Daryl Beattie, 114. Don Daryl Beattie raced well in the first leg this morning, but failed to finish. What happened?
Daryl had a piston seize in the Honda RS250, and his faithful mechanic, Doug Sharp, has worked like he's never worked before over the lunch break to repair that and get him out on the grid for this race.
Well, we certainly saw a reverse of form this morning, or a change of form this morning. We'd expected to see bike 10, Jeffrey Sale, and bike 12, Daryl Beattie, race neck and neck for the championship, but it didn't happen that way. There were a lot of other contenders who likely will upset the results this afternoon.
Yes, they could well do. Like the lap record holder Roy Leslie was third in the first race. Everybody during the lunch break was adjusting suspension because there's a line of cement dust on the circuit. That's forced everybody out onto a line they usually don't use, and that's bumpier than the line they usually don't use, so it was a bit of head scratching over the lunch break with suspension settings. 20 laps of the Grand Prix circuit at Oran Park to be contested this afternoon, just on 50 kilometres of racing. It'll take about 23 minutes, and it promises to be sensational stuff. Michael Cole, these bikes are the bikes that are breeding new Grand Prix champions for the world.
That's right, John. Anyone with $20,000 can go to Yamaha, the Yamaha dealer, and order what's called a TZ250. Now it's a two-stroke, twin-cylinder, water-cooled in a motor, in a 6-speed gearbox, in an aluminium frame, aluminium chassis with magnesium wheels. And you can then set out and race with the best in the country, and you can use it as a stepping stone for bigger and better things. Wayne Gardner, for instance, did very well in this style of racing.
Well, the bike we're watching at the moment is bike 12, Daryl Beattie. He's the man who seized his engine in the first heat this morning, and he's the man who lost a very handy 12-point lead over the defending veteran Australian champion Jeff Sale, to discover that he's now 1 point down. And Coxie, what's that going to do to Daryl Beattie's head this afternoon? Does he have enough maturity to be able to ride smoothly, or will he just go for broke?
No, I think the very reason that Daryl is in Team Honda is that he combines a lot of maturity with a 19-year-old body. He's a lad with a big future.
Well, he's a man who's been discovered by quite a number of leading lights of talent scouts in Australia, not the least of whom was Warren Willing, who first picked him up. And then, of course, now Mick Smith's got him in Team Honda. He really is impressive, isn't he?
He certainly is. He was in the points in his first Grand Prix at Phillip Island, and he was over renewing a few acquaintances last weekend at the Suzuka 8 Hour, just checking on a few factory contracts when he went over there as, well, I guess, bagman for Mal Campbell on a tour.
Well, there's 26 riders in the points in the Australian Road Race Championship, sponsored by Shell Oils, for these 250cc machines. But there are only 2 riders, really, who are in absolutely major contention. That's Jeff Sale on bike 10, the yellow bike to the right of your screen, and Daryl Beattie on the red, blue and white Honda on bike 12, sitting right there on pole position. Almost ready now for a start. Rennie Bongers is on bike 20. You can see sitting beside Sale on 10. Stephen Moss, 14, back in the pack beside them. Flagman waiting for the last of the bikes to get into position as soon as they arrive. He will depart hurriedly. The lights will turn to green. Ready now for a start, and the Shell Oils Australian Road Race Championship for 250cc bikes. It's away.
Sale's got the whole shot again, but Beattie's going to do something about that fairly shortly.
So it's Sale and Beattie. Beattie on 12, Sale right beside him, and elbows the boy out.
And
Jeff
here
Sale.
comes Horton.
And Horton round the outside of both of them. Horton is just sensational off the start.
Well, that was the plan for this race, get a good start and play it from there, he said.
David Horton, bike 27. Jeff Sale, bike 10. Daryl Beattie, bike 12. Then comes 20, Rennie Bongers. And out to the outside, 8, Matt Cooley. Virtually a repeat of the first leg this morning. Horton just going from broke from the start. All of the bikes being forced to stay wide of that concrete line.
Yes, Not quite a repeat there, because on the first lap in the first race, nobody was ready for it. They were forced wide for a bump, and Jeff Sale nearly bit the dust on that lap.
Sale now, right on the tail of David Horton. Michael Cole, young Darrell Beattie, perhaps with now only 3 laps of practice and 2 laps of the race behind him, would still be a little bit wary of a machine that had seized in an earlier race today.
I think he'd be fairly tentative, but once the flag drops, his mind will be on the racing now. I'd imagine just by speaking to him, he's got the attitude where he'll get into the racing.
Sale now down the inside and takes over David Horton. Horton fights back on the outside, but won't do it there. Now Beattie down the inside of Horton as well, so it's Sale and Beattie in the lead. Horton now fighting back on the outside. It's Bongers on the inside of him. One rider down.
Oh, always hate to see that.
Oh, it's terrible, isn't it? That's at the fastest section of the track, bottom of the main straight. Bike 5 is Wayne Barris from the Hartwell Club in Victoria, riding for Chris Oldfield Racing. Meantime, back in the lead is Jeffrey Sale, coming up to the flip-flop. Behind him, Darrell Beattie. Behind him now is Rennie Bongers, having